People, this is Ashley Campbell's Daily Encouragement. Usually go live in my group, but I wanted to get on my page today because there is a bunch of new followers on here, and I wanted to discuss the post that I made last night. Some people think that I'm an AI or a bot. Well, here I am in the flesh, baby. No, I'm not a bot. I'm just a person who sees what the fuck is going on in this country and has some questions for people, okay? And I know I'm not the only one. You know, first off, I think what really got me more interested in what happened with Charlie Kirk, the assassination, was number one, that was an assassination. Assassinations usually are very well orchestrated. It's not somebody just showing up at an event, just doing that, especially if a high profile person. I was extremely shocked when I found out about it. I was like, what the heck just happened? Okay. Well, the other thing that was starting to get interesting was, I guess, towards the end of Charlie's life, he had some donors and people that were upset with him about some of the, perspectives and views that he started to have. And I've seen this clip where he was discussing Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, being involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And I'm like, you know what? I remember back in 2020 when there was a lot of people who were under quarantine and seeing all this stuff come out about pedophiles. And honestly, I never knew anything about it, really. I mean, it wasn't until 2020 when all this stuff kind of came to the surface. I watched some documentaries and I was just like, wow. And so I remember, hearing people, Donald Trump and all these people that we actually supported, the Kash Patels, the Bonginos, I supported all of them, getting into Trump's cabinet because they said that we're going to be transparent. We're going to bring down the deep state. Remember, Kash Patel said that he was going to turn the deep state into a fucking museum. And I was thought that he was actually going to do that, like for real. And then, over time, somebody tried to assassinate Donald Trump. Do you guys remember that? Now, and this is the thing I don't think people realize is Charlie Kirk had done a podcast with Stephen Bannon the day before he was going to prison. And Charlie Kirk, it was June 30th of 2024. He was talking to Steve Bannon and they got into the conversation about assassinations. And Charlie Kirk was just saying that's not uncommon, right? And he was listing off all of these people who've been assassinated. 13 days later, Donald Trump gets an attempt on his life. I'm like, oh my God, right in front of us, right? He's on a stage. Like everybody's watching him, listening to him. Another guy ends up dead as a result. But you never really found out about that guy. So I thought that was kind of weird that his cabinet didn't really give us any information. I think we have the right to know, being that we're the ones who are supposed to be picking the people who represent us. And now all of a sudden this happens and nobody knows about it. Well, then it happens again in October. Well, that's kind of weird. What the freak is going on here? Right? No one's addressing that. No one's talking about it. And the only ones who really can are the ones who are investigating. The ones who are investigating aren't telling us anything. Now, again, this is supposed to be the most transparent organization. Okay, what's going on there? And then all of a sudden, Charlie Kirk, he gets assassinated in front of God and everybody. That's a little fishy. I thought it was weird because what he stood for was honesty and truth. He would talk to people. He would ask really hard questions that people don't want to discuss, but he was willing to do that. And so now he gets murdered and we're told, remember Patel said it was so-and-so, and then it turns out it wasn't. And that's the other thing that's really bothering me is all the stuff that happened with January 6th and who only God knows the truth with that. They said they had somebody and then they just changed it up. Like, are you guys okay with that? That's really weird. These are supposed to be our intelligence agencies and they're fucking changing their mind constantly. Oh, nope, it was this person. Oh, no, it was that person. What the fuck are they trying to cover up? That's my question here. If you have intelligence, why are you not intelligent enough to actually fucking figure who it was? Why is it changing? For what purpose? Now it's some black kid and then with some transgender. That just sounds like some weird ass shit they're trying to do to constantly pit us against each other from asking questions, right? Because they're always trying to divide us. The people on the right are supposed to hate the gays. And then white people are supposed to hate black people. And they're trying to fucking recreate racism and all this bullshit in this country again. All so they can continue to do the sick ass shit that they've been doing in this country. Not really all over the world when you think about it. And that's the thing. I remember back in 2020 when the world was on lockdown, you start learning about pedophilia, and then all of a sudden you get Candace Owens investigating people, right? Brigitte Macron, and then it turns out that her husband or his husband, whoever this person is, kind of has heroes that are pedophiles. That's kind of weird. And then you look at what's been going on in the United States, and you look at what's been happening with children, and you look at transgenderism, and you look at all that, and you're like, wow, what is the push? Where is that coming from? Could it be that there are people in high places all over the world that are pushing this type of stuff? And so her, being a mother with children, is asking these questions. I don't understand why that's such a problem. So I guess after Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and I started listening to different people talk about stuff, I was just like, wow, you know what, Lord, I've never even heard of that. And that's the other thing I'll say. A lot of people are attacking her, calling her crazy, but they have never really listened to what she said. Oh, where's the receipts? Every video I've ever watched Candace do, she always pulls up a news article. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through all of the videos that she's done on Charlie Kirk's assassination, and I'm going to write down every single article that she pulls up, and I'm going to get on here and I'm going to show it to you guys, okay? Because I'm sick and tired of people saying that she's not bringing any kind of receipts. You know, she's done a lot of research. She reads a lot of books. She talks to a lot of people. If you have done the amount of research she has, or read the books that she's had, or read the articles that she has, or got the emails that she's gotten from people, you would probably have a different perspective too. Your mind is only shaped by what you've heard from others, right? Her mind is being shaped by what she's heard. So if it sounds a little foreign to you, it could be just because it's something you've never heard before. And so, you know, that's what cognitive dissonance is. You hear something and it's so outrageous to you that you just want to defend it, right? You want to defend why you think that thing is wrong. How in the world is anybody in this world going to find truth if you're just trying to defend the things that you think are true that might not be true? How do you find out if something is true? You test it with arguments, right? That's the whole point of having a court case. And that's the other thing I'll say. You've got people in the comments saying, well, they don't want to get a court case messed up. How in the heck are you going to mess up a court case if all the evidence is actually there? You know, Jesus said, he who builds his house upon the rock, when the wind and waves hit it, they'll be able to stand. Because I asked the Lord this question one time when all the COVID stuff was going on and you're hearing all these million different theories and, you know, whatever. I was like, Lord, how do you know something is true? Seriously, like, what do we have to be able to test that? And he brought that scripture to my mind. And so he was showing me, because Jesus is the truth, right? So when you stand on the truth, all right, not just believing him, right? There's going to be all kinds of arguments that are going to try to tell you that he's not who he says he is, right? But then he is the truth. He leads us in truth. So that means that we're going to have to go through this life and be able to discern what is true and what is not. That's part of us ruling and subduing this earth. It's part of our responsibility as humans. And so if you're trying to find reality, you have to be able to ask questions and test reasons, right? And so the same principle applies. The same way that you would stand on Jesus Christ as the truth, you have to be able to say, okay, what is reality? And we're going to test it. This is what they're saying, but the only way to find out what they're saying is true is to test it. And that means that there's going to be arguments that go against it. And if it still stands, then okay, right? That's what it is. Then it's a fact. But the fact that they have created an atmosphere that is so airtight to where you cannot ask questions. I mean, I've heard, and I don't know when this trial is supposed to start. They haven't been very open about that. The guy has only appeared on camera. He should be in that room, right? The other thing is, anybody and everybody should be willing to present their case, their arguments in their case. I don't understand, unless it's rigged, right? And that's the truth. I don't know why anybody on this planet, no matter where you live, would think that government would not actually have an idea to lie to you and manipulate you. Governments do it all the time, all over the world. You live in the United States and you think, oh my God, that would never happen here, because you look at all the horrible things that happen, or maybe you don't even know. Yes, governments turn on their people all the time. How do you think the United States was founded? Okay. Their own people turned on them. Their own government turned on them, literally. It happens. It happens all the time. Look at China. China's turned on their own people. Organ harvesting, right? oppression of people all the time. People that are living in dirt huts and eating bugs to survive and rats, living in filth because their governments decided that. So don't tell me that the government of the United States is immune from corruption. It is not at all. Okay? So why are we attacking people for asking important questions when these people are the ones that are making decisions for us? We should be able to. They don't want you to ask questions and think, right? Because they want to be in control. So anyway, let's get to some of the things that I've seen on here. We're going to lose an election. Are you fucking kidding me? That's what Tim Pool said. You guys want to watch a little clip really quick? I had to look for it, and I just pulled it up on this guy's YouTube channel. I've never watched his YouTube channel before. I do not know who he is, but he did show the clip of Tim Pool saying that we're going to lose an election now because Candace Owens is bringing up all this stuff. Are you kidding me? Is that what this is about? Let's go ahead and watch it together. So I'm going to go ahead and pull him up on the screen, and we are going to listen to this really quick.
If the Republicans lose in the midterms, I believe that Candace Owens is wholly responsible. She is one of the biggest podcasts on the right doing everything to go to war with the organization that helped get Trump elected. Turning Point specifically was going out and registering people to vote. Without Charlie, it's in trouble. Turning Point needs to be able to go out and rally young people and register them to vote. And she's doing everything she can to destroy that. And that is going to, I suppose, it's going to rip out the coffers on the right. There is no organization like Turning Point that exists anywhere else that has the resources and the reach. And without Charlie, I'm not sure that they can make it. But I can tell you this, Candace lighting a Molotov and throwing it through the window is not helping. And it's the most demoralizing thing ever. Additionally, all of the fucking cowards on the right who are too scared to say anything about her because she tweets at me.
Did you hear that? He's calling us fucking cowards because we don't want to fucking agree with the fuck they're telling us. Horse shit. This is about an election? Is that what this is really fucking about? You know what I'm starting to think? I wonder if they took Charlie out so they could take control of his organization for the purposes of elections. Do you understand that this was always but what it's been about? Charlie Kirk did what he did because he legit cares about the United States. America first. Close the borders. Americans having more babies because we have all these foreigners coming in here, having all their babies pushing their own cultural stuff instead of actually coming here and naturalizing and all those things, okay? And so now that he's gone, they can manipulate it. And that's what bothers me. Why are we thinking that just because Charlie Kirk was a Christian, that everybody in that organization is just like him? That's like saying that everybody that you go to church with actually believes God the way you do. How many times have you talked to other people and realized that, wow, we're really not on the same page? Like, we have some similar ideas, but as I start to ask questions and get to know you, we're not really here, you know? And if you've heard Candace Owens talk, one of the differences that her and Charlie Kirk had to do with money. She said she did not like some of the people that he was taking money from his organization. Okay, that's legit. Did you know that there are actually people out there who are not driven by money? But there are people, a lot more people in this world that are driven by money. And so for him, this guy to sit here, I used to listen to Tim Pool, but it's kind of interesting now when things like this have come up and now all of a sudden you're being attacked, you should definitely question what's going on here. Why all of a sudden is he saying that we're pieces of shit because we're not willing to accept what they're trying to just shove down our throats? Our responsibility as God's children, American citizens at that, is to ask questions to find out the truth. And now look what's going on. So let's continue to listen to him rant.
Talking shit or whatever, and then a bunch of people come and flood our chat. I could give a single flying fuck. You can come and you can burn everything I have to the ground and I will happily live in a van down by the river. I don't care to be number one. I don't need.
You know what? I hope that happens. You want to sit here and talk shit to the people on the right that fucking support your podcast, and you're saying it could all burn to the ground and you're going to go live in a van down by the river? Go right fucking ahead. I actually did that with my mom when I was a kid. I was homeless with my mom. You guys, there's a lot of thousands of people on my page now but I'll do another video where I share my story. Okay. But I am married. I've been with the same man for 25 years. We've got 7 kids together. Me and my husband had our first baby when we were 16. Our youngest is 7. So we got 23 all the way down to 7. But I've lived in a van down by the river, eating government fucking cheese with my mom, watching her ass get beat. I would like to see somebody like this who's fucking sitting in your little seat with your little fucking hat on. I'm sure he makes lots of money doing his podcast. I hope his shit does burn to the fucking ground then. Good. Let's see who's telling the truth. Let shit fucking fall apart so we can actually figure out who the fuck is running this shit. So, you know what? I don't appreciate how he is actually attacking his own audience. Do you know how many people on the right listen to this guy and support him? And now all of a sudden, because we're not all in this group fucking think they want us to be in, now he's attacking us. That's dangerous. You guys, that is not good at all. It is okay for people to disagree. And that was really how Charlie Kirk rolled, right? He literally went into the abyss of people who had massive disagreements against him, and he welcomed it. He didn't sit there and attack him. Charlie Kirk never sat in his seat and looked at people who didn't agree with him and say, you're all fucking pieces of shit. This is not a representation of him whatsoever. And this is another reason why I think his organization has been compromised, because now all of a sudden you've got people like this coming out saying stuff like that. Let's continue.
Need to be number one. What I care about is what is true and what will help this country and what works.
You know what? If he really cared about what was fucking true, he would not be attacking people who were asking questions. Again, how do you find out what is true? You have to ask questions. There's nothing wrong with that. If he cared about the truth, he would not sit there and attack his audience. I can bet you there's people that follow him, that listen to his content, that also listen to Candace Owens. You know, it's so good. I hope it all falls apart. Let people like this show their true colors. They should not be attacking you just because you think differently than them. Okay? You should actually welcome it and try to understand where people are coming from. So anyway, let's see what else he has to say.
And she is a fucking scumbag. Okay? And she's getting worse every day. And she
So I want you to remember this. When you disagree with people and you're not thinking the way that they do, this is exactly how they see you. They're going to call you a fucking scumbag. They're going to call you a piece of shit, and they're going to do everything they can to destroy you. Isn't that a little weird? Right? So this tells me he's not really on the side of truth. The fact that he wants to destroy the mechanisms to discover the truth, that tells me right where he's at. So it's pretty sad. Charlie Kirk would never, ever would have talked to somebody like that. Right? Now, him on the other hand, he can all he wants, but how can you attack somebody, degrade somebody like that so bad just because you don't agree with them, right? Like, and to like I said, again, right off. A lot of people, his audience listens to him.
Crossed the line. She continually crosses the line every day, insinuating that Turning Point literally killed the guy who made them all rich. And I have
yeah, well, maybe they did. If Charlie Kirk made them all rich, that's interesting. There's been a lot of stuff that's come out lately, right? Especially with them filing their taxes. I guess they were late on some stuff. You know, Charlie Kirk wanted to do an audit. There was some money that was moved, la, 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 la. Who knows? He made them all rich. Yeah, he did. That was really generous of him, wasn't it? But guess what? I don't think everybody, you know, I wonder, because these were big organizations, right? Like Charlie Kirk had like 4 different shell companies, like TP USA, like there's 4, like at least 4 different ones. So there's a lot of people working for him. Do you really think that he had the opportunity to talk to every single person that was working for him? Is it possible that he had people in there that, you know, turned, you know, wicked per se, or turned evil? Yeah. Why do we think that just because they say they're Christians, they're not above anything like that? I don't understand that reasoning at all. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in the world, and it shouldn't work when it comes to stuff like this. Why are we assuming just because they say they're a Christian organization that nobody in there could be corrupt, nobody in there can lie? Do you know how much evil goes on through the freaking doors of the church? How much corruption? Like, and I'm starting to wonder if they're actually starting to use God's word to manipulate people so they don't question them. That's the other thing. A lot of people you know, look up to people that, you know, in these positions who are, you know, teaching the Bible and teaching about God and saying all these things, and people are just listening to them because they're trying, you know, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. You know, but anyway, I'm starting to wonder if, you know, because I've noticed a lot of people working in TPA, sort of the faces of them right now, they have been using God a lot to sort of shut people down. When has God ever behaved with people like that? And we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes too. Let's see what else he has to say.
And I hear this in the streets, and at a certain point, I'm like, holy shit, we're going to lose the midterms. We're going to lose the midterms. Then we're going to lose in 2028.
So that's all he's worried about, is losing the midterms. Isn't that crazy? That's all this is to him, is an election. What if we have pieces of shit in the election that don't need to be in power anymore? Right? To me, it's not about winning an election. It's about finding out who the heck was behind Charlie Kirk's assassination. Do we have people in our government all over that are compromised that actually want to kill all of us? Don't you think that should be a question for American citizens? If they took him out, what makes you think that they don't want to eventually take out people like me, people like you that are trying to find out the truth? Don't you think you should be like, you know what kind of world are we going to live in if we actually don't find out who's behind this? Let's lay it all out on the table, right? Let's have all the cameras in the courtroom. Let's have all the arguments presented for your sake and for the sake of this next generation. Because if it doesn't happen, guess what? What's the point? What is the point of this country standing if it's standing on complete shit? If it stands on people who are liars and manipulators and users, right? This country's been in trouble for a long time, and people are finally waking up to a little bit, right? Like, what's going on here? There's weird things that are happening. Anyway, let's finish this video, or this segment, actually.
And it's because she's a piece of shit. Because instead of saying, guys, let's come together and figure out how to work together, she says the stupidest, retarded crap. And now everybody's running around divided and broken. For what reason? For literally what reason?
You know, Tim,
I don't think anybody's divided and broken over, okay, let me go ahead and pull this off the screen. And like I said, I'm not sure who this guy is, but he seemed, it was on his channel. So I wanted to, because I was trying to find that clip. So that's all this is about. It's all about, now we're divided. No, I think that we're trying to literally find out what the truth is, because if they went after Charlie, they're going to go after us. They're going to go after me. They're going to go after you. That's what they're doing. They are literally going after anybody right now who is asking questions. They're attacking him on social media. Look what this guy just did, right? They're all pieces of shit. They're all retarded. She's saying all this retarded shit. And it's like, what are you talking about? You can tell he's actually never really sat down and listened to anything she said. I was telling my husband last night, I said, a lot of the videos that I've watched that Candace has done, she has pulled up news articles. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back and I'm going to go through each video. It's going to take me a while because they're like an hour. I got 12 hours of work ahead of me now, maybe 13, 14, but go through every single video that she's done with the investigation of Charlie Kirk and write down every single news article that she posted, because she's not just sitting up there blowing smoke out her ass. All right. She's literally come in contact with news articles, shit we've forgotten about. Do you know how much stuff they throw at us constantly? What's the newest one? The pipe bomber, January 6th pipe bomber. Remember they told us it was some chick from DC, right? Do you remember that? Oh yeah, we caught him. And now all of a sudden it's some black kid. What's with all this changing shit constantly? Don't you think you should probably vet your own evidence a little bit better before you start getting out there telling everybody that it's this or that and that they've been caught? That's what Kash Patel said the first time they said they caught this guy who assassinated Charlie Kirk. Didn't they say that? Turns out, oh, sorry, we messed that up. So I'm telling you right now, Patel's lost credibility in my eyes. All right. Whoever's running the FBI, I don't even think it's him. They haven't been truthful. Okay. They have not been the most transparent organization. They're constantly changing everything. The fact that they're not even willing to, they never even addressed the whole, the assassination threat on Candace's life. What's up with that? I mean, somebody should have said something about it. I think you're damn right. So, and then the stuff she brought up too. This is what really got me thinking. She was talking about the Egyptian planes. Why do we have foreign planes flying in our country? Is that true? So that would be the first question you got to ask them. Was there Egyptian planes following Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk's planes? Yes or no? Okay, yes, there was. Who were these planes? Why are they following them? What country are they from? And then she brings up the fact that all of these over in Delaware, they've got a building over there, and all of these intelligence agencies are all posted up together. That's some weird ass shit. right? That's like massively centralized government, big time. And not only that, now you've got foreign governments that are showing up over there for what? And then she mentioned the French renting the airplane hangar over there. What? Why do we have the French renting that from us? What's going on there? Like, no one talks about it, but she's brought articles that discuss that. And because nobody really understands what the hell's going on, most Americans are living their own fucking life, taking care of their kids, going to work, right? Trusting that the people that we've elected is actually going to be honest and do their job. And apparently they're not. And people are sick of it. And so, so now we're going to lose an election. That's what this is about. I could care less, right? They're all, and that's the thing. They've allowed the border to be open for God knows how long. We've got all these foreigners in the country. Now, look, Trump is supposed to be getting rid of them, and he is, right? I mean, he wants to close the border. He's getting rid of them. It's going to be a slow process because there's a lot of them, and they're also breeding like rabbits. So there's that factor. And so now, but what's happened is all these people have come into the country, and they're all in these different spots all over the country. And Democrats want to use these illegals for the elections. And so now they're just worried about winning an election. Well, I don't care about a fucking election if I have corrupt people working in my government. I don't care. I don't care. No one is safe in the United States if the executive branch and all those fucking people working above them are lying to us. Okay? Nobody's safe in this country. If you think that we can just let this shit go on, I don't fucking think so. The fact that even Candace Owens had an assassination attempt on her and they didn't address that, they're just going to let that shit fly? Who else are they going to go after next? We have to ask these questions. People are like, well, that's scary. That's the fucking world we live in. So now you don't want to ask questions because you're scared? So what, you're going to you're just going to die and leave this country to your children so then they have to deal with this shit? No, we need to be dealing with this. We need to be asking questions. That's the other thing too. There's so much connected to this, right? We talk about what's happening in, which state is it? The one that's got all the Muslims that are showing up? Right? Yeah, like they say, never forget 9/11 and the towers, never forget. But then all of a sudden we got all these freaking Muslims and people showing up wanting to post up Sharia law in the United States. Where the hell these people come from? You mean to tell me that our government, these people didn't know these people were in here? How the hell why did you allow them to come into our country? And so that's the other thing. And then, there's also, I think it's Article 4 of the Constitution says that every state is supposed to be guaranteed a Republican form of government. So how in the hell could Sharia law even be implemented anywhere? It's not supposed to be. But do you know how many corrupt state workers we have? You guys, the whole Somalia thing with all the corruption going on over there in Minnesota? State workers tried to report it to the governor and he did nothing. And that's the other thing too. There's just so much bullshit, right? I remember when just a couple weeks ago, Donald Trump said that there were certain people, representatives, senators in the government that were sedition, right? Basically, don't listen to the commander in chief. Why were they not removed from office? If they're really that bad, why the hell are they still sitting in their positions of authority? Get their asses out of there then, if that's what they're doing, right? But it's just weird. If that's what's happening, they need to actually do it, unless they're not, unless it's just like this bullshit to stir everybody up, right? And so anyway, it's insane. And I'll also bring this up. The other thing I don't understand is I watched a hearing probably a few weeks ago, a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, and he was talking about how it had been, remember when the whole Doge stuff was going on? They had uncovered that, I think it was USAID or one of those groups, millions of dollars getting funneled to terrorist organizations. What? Wait a minute. So we're supposed to be worried about terrorism, but our own United States government accidentally sent them money? Bullshit. This is exactly why I ain't trusting nobody until they get their shit together. Period. Now we're sending money to terrorist organizations, the very ones that you guys know that they censor Americans, the whole Patriot Act, the bullshit that it's surveilling us constantly, and they're giving aid money to our fucking enemies. That is a problem. All your tax dollars getting, the whole thing is Minnesota, federal dollars, all 50 states paying taxes, right? Collecting all that money goes to Minnesota. They scam and I watched the hearing. I think it was Kennedy, the rep. Is he a rep or a senator in Louisiana? But he said the organization, one of the organizations in Minnesota, went to the state and said, we would like to help kids with autism. And so they realized they didn't have enough kids with autism. So they went to the parents and they said, can we say your kid has autism so we can get more money? And then they were giving the parents money just for saying their kid had autism. What the fuck is going on here? And they knew it on the state level. I'm sure they tried to report it on the federal level. Nobody did shit. So don't tell me I need to be worried about a fucking election when the people we currently have elected are not doing their fucking job. Right? And that's the other thing that happens. When they talk about winning elections, all they do is tell you who to vote for. Because, I guess they don't think that you're actually going to do your work and homework and research these people. That's the other thing I don't understand. I voted for Donald Trump. I voted for him twice. Okay? Because he said he was going to bring businesses back to the United States. He's going to close the border. That's fantastic. Lower taxes, which is important. Right? We have to lower the taxes so we can actually get more of our fucking money back and stop paying these terrorist organizations and stop giving money to all these different countries. Right? Wouldn't it be nice to actually, I wonder what it would actually be like if we truly cut off all of the bullshit funding. How much more money would we really have in our pockets? We don't even have any idea, honestly. But yeah, it's crazy, you guys. And I'm fed up and I'm tired of it. And I'm sick of them using us or manipulating us to, do their little bidding for them. Charlie Kirk literally backed Donald Trump because he really thought that Donald Trump was going to do the job. Right? That's why he did it. He registered voters. Why? Because people don't vote. Why did he register voters? Because people seem to think that if you vote, it doesn't matter. But obviously it did. That's why Trump won the election. It's because he went and talked to the younger people. And that's great. People should vote. But this should not be about worrying about an election and who's going to win. We need to start dealing with the corruption that's happening in this administration, period. And don't tell me it's not. The fact that they're not allowing questions to be asked, or they change their fucking story every few months about shit and all of this. It's like, no, people have had enough. American citizens don't want pedophiles running the world. We don't want our children to be indoctrinated with that sick ass shit. Right? All of it. It's all connected. We don't want to give money to our so-called enemies, the ones that you're allowing into our country who are taking it over territory by territory. We don't want that. And we tell you that, and you still don't listen to us. Right? So what are some other things that they said? Yeah, we talked about messing with the trial. Oh, thousands coming to Christ. That's the other one. It's not fair. Like, why would you question this? There's thousands of people coming to Jesus. So, what's going to happen to them? Why are we trying to establish an organization to where people are dependent on the organization to follow God? When has that ever worked? Why do you think the church or the influence of the church has not been so good? Because the only thing churches have ever been is just they've kind of like turned into indoctrination camps. They're not really empowering people to think for themselves and walk in their God-given authority. You go there, they tell you what it means, you leave, you come back, right? Not very many Christians read the Bible. They rely on their pastor to tell them what things mean. Okay, that's fine when you're a baby. But at some point, like, people have to grow up and start feeding themselves. Like I was talking to a couple a few weeks ago that are getting ready to plant a church out here. And they said, we want to just disciple people and hold people accountable to what they said, what they told God, what they are going to do. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But really, you don't have to put that much pressure on yourself. You don't need to hire a bunch of people to come and disciple people. People should have a desire within themselves already to follow God and read his word and have a relationship with him. I've had 7 babies. Of all my 7 babies, I never had to put them in the high chair. Like, I got to a point at a certain age where they fed themselves. Right? And if any of you has kids, you know what I'm talking about. I nursed them all for a year. And then, they get strong enough to where they can sit in the high chair and you kind of spoon feed them some stuff. But then they eventually get to a point where they can pick up small little foods, peas and real soft stuff, and feed themselves. That's what we need to do in this country. We need to empower people to feed themselves and stop creating these organizations where these young Christians are going to be dependent upon these people at TP to tell them what God wants them to do. And besides, TP was never supposed to be this huge, basically church, mega church thing. TP was supposed to be about people, young people, getting involved in what's happening in their country, getting involved in government, educating themselves, talking to people that thought differently than they did. That's what I thought initially Turning Point was supposed to be about. Not to say that God doesn't have to have influence, but if you're trying to control people using God, that is a problem. Okay? When you start manipulating people saying, oh, well, you're going to mess everything up if you do that. You know what? God is humble and he always asks questions. Remember when Adam ate from the tree? What did God say? He came to him and he goes, hey, Adam, where'd you go? Right? He was looking for him. The Lord called to Adam and said, where are you? Of course, God knew where he was. But the point of God asking Adam questions wasn't for God's sake. It was for Adam's sake to figure out what happened. Right? That's what questions do. And so he goes, where'd you go? And then, let me see here. Let me find it really quick. So he said, I heard your voice in the garden and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. Wait a minute. So Adam had been talking to God the whole time. And now all of a sudden he heard God coming. And the reason he ran from God because he was naked. So Adam thinks he's running from God because he's naked. But the whole time he was naked with God. Okay? So that reveals that the reason that Adam had, walked away from God was not really the reason why he was hiding. It wasn't because he was naked, right? So then the Lord called to Adam and said to him, where are you? I heard your voice. I read that in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? Isn't that interesting? God's like, who told you that? What caused the fall in the garden? Was it just them eating from the tree? What happened before that? What happened before they actually ate from it? It was the knowledge that they had. So there was the knowledge that God gave them, and then there was the knowledge that the serpent gave. Now, how did the serpent approach this whole thing, right? It says, okay. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, has God indeed said you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Well, if you actually remember what God said in the beginning, he said you can eat from any tree, right? Just not that one, but they were free to eat everyone else. And here the serpent turns around and he goes, you shall not eat of every tree, right? Now it's true. They can't eat from every tree, but they can eat from all other trees except for that one. So they still got a lot of options before them, right? Anyway, and the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat, nor you shall touch it, lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Isn't that interesting? Why do you guys think they ate from the tree? Do you think it was just because they were like, oh yeah, we're prideful and we just want to eat this? I don't think it was. I think it was the manipulation that the serpent brought. When he says, you will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God. Isn't it interesting that he said God knows? God knows that God knows that then the days you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. Notice how the consequences weren't brought upon Adam and Eve for what they were going to do. That's the other thing. That Satan never lets you know what your actual consequences will be for your actions. He always points to other people. Right? Well, God will know what you're going to do. Right? When God talks to us, he tells us exactly, look, if you make this choice, this is what's going to happen to you. He doesn't talk in riddles like that. Right? Like, oh, if you do this, so-and-so, this is going to affect so-and-so. It's like, no, actually, you have your own consequences. And this is why it's important that we actually ask questions, because if we don't, then the results are going to be on our head. Right? Oh, well, so-and-so said it was fine, so we'll just go ahead and let it fly. Who the freak is so-and-so that we should listen to them? It's always the knowledge that's going to cause the fall. Whose knowledge are you living by? Adam was living by the knowledge of the serpent, because the serpent says, you're not going to die. Right? And here's the thing too. This is the other reason I think that Eve ate from the tree. It says, and the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food. Now check this out. Do you guys know the criteria of the trees that God gave to them of the ones they could eat? Let's look at that. So let's go back. When God gave them the trees to eat, he gave them certain criteria. And it's the same criteria that Eve used. Check this out. So if you go to Genesis chapter 2, and it says, and out of the ground, the Lord God made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. So all the trees that God made, including the knowledge of good and evil, but all the other trees they could eat from, they all had the same criteria. Every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. So listen to the criteria that Eve used when what she reasoned. So she looked at it, and the woman, let me see here, saw that the tree was good for food and it was pleasant to the eye. So it already meets both criteria. So in her mind, she's like, can already do this, right? It was good for food and it's pleasant to the sight. Okay, same thing. And then it says, and then in a tree desirable to make one wise. She took of its fruit and ate it. You want to know why I think she ate from the tree? Because I don't think she knew that she was already made in the image of God. That's why he says, and God knows that in the day of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So he told them, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Well, weren't they already made in the image of God? Yes, they were. I don't think God told them that directly. I think that they were like young children, right? I think that they had the mind of a child. They had a physical parts because they were supposed to reproduce. But in terms of their thinking, they were like children. Even adults to this day are still like that, right? Have you ever met an adult that's got full-grown parts, but their mind is very underdeveloped? I think Adam and Eve were very underdeveloped still in that sense because they were created as to be like children. They were supposed to learn from God, all right? So God was teaching them, right? It's like you train your kids. God had created Adam, and then he was like bringing animals to him and giving them tasks, and Adam was doing that thing because God had created them. He says, be fruitful, multiply, rule and subdue the earth. That was Adam's primary initiative that God had given him. What does it mean to rule and subdue the earth? It means we are, as God's creation, we are supposed to be the ones that influence this earth, okay? But you have to come under God in order to do that because you're only going to be influenced by two spirits in this world. It's either going to be the spirit of truth or the spirit of lies. Those are the only two options you have. You're either going to be governed by lies or you're going to be governed by truth, okay? But when Satan came in, he hijacked that process of man learning from God, right? Now we have the Holy Spirit. God hasn't left us as orphans. That's why he sent Jesus Christ, right? So we could go back to learning from God while we're here on this earth, right? A lot of people think that, oh, I guess I'll just wait till I'm dead. But why would God send his spirit on this earth to help you if he still did not want you to learn from him, right? I mean, Jesus even said, come to me, learn from me. I'm gentle and humble in heart. So there's supposed to be this dynamic where you are learning from him even now, right? But it's just interesting. I think that Eve, after she saw it, it was the same criteria of the other trees she could eat from. The only difference was you're going to be like God. I don't think she knew she was already made in the image of God. How many of you to this day don't have certain revelations about your relationship with God and have suffered for it? How many of you have tried to get good in your life? You perceived lack, right? You're like, hey, now, before I say that, Adam and Eve, they never experienced evil before. I think their motivation was strictly good in a sense of like, dude, we're going to be like God. Like, God is awesome. He's like been really good to us. They had what other thought could they have? They've never experienced evil, right? How could they look at God and think that, oh, well, I'm going to be better than you? That's what Satan did. But Adam and Eve, I think they were just like, hey, dude, we're going to be like God. I think that was just like a legit motivation that they had. And they did it because they thought that they were going to get good in a sense, right? It's going to get better. But they already had it. They just didn't know that. And humans do that crap all the time. You perceive lack in your life, or you think that, oh, well, if I do this and you do it, you have good intentions. Have you ever had that happen to you? You had good intentions to do something and it all fell on its face, right? Why? Why does that happen? Because we don't ask questions, and that's what we can learn from Adam and Eve per se. Like now we can look back and be like, oh, you know what? If you already know something to be true and somebody comes and says something, you can test it and ask questions now. That's what's going to protect you from continuing a fall in your life per se, right? God uses questions to bring revelation. That's what he did with Adam. Who told you that? He was trying to get Adam to think about, how did you get to this point to where you're running from me because you're naked? Like Adam, he obviously forgot that he was already naked the whole time. And God was trying to show Adam, the reason that you're running from me is because who told you that? Who are you listening to? Right? And that's what we really have to get down to, is who are we listening to? Do you question anything that anybody says to you? Do you just roll with it just because they have a certain position in your mind? Right? Like you've esteemed them to this point. You know, you have to put yourself in that position. That's how you're going to protect yourself from deception, by the way. Excuse me. So let's see here. So that's the whole thing. I guess when I was talking about questioning from God or from the devil, right? God asked questions for Adam's sake, to him actually understanding why he fell. The devil was asking questions to lead them out of what God had already told them was true, right? And other consequences and this or that. And so anyway, I don't think asking questions is a bad thing. I think it's exactly what God would do. God does ask us questions. God doesn't assume. That's what the devil does, right? And so we need to be able to practice that skill in order to find out what's true. Let me see if there's anything else I want to bring up to you guys. So yeah, the whole thing with thousands coming to Christ. I don't want an organization to lead thousands of young people if there is in fact corruption in it. I don't think that's going to be good for them. And you know, the interesting thing is now they're like, hey, there's a turning point over in DC now. Oh, the cesspool of the world. Are they now going to use these kids for their own stuff? Like, I don't know. Who knows? It's just kind of weird. Yeah, we talked about that. I'll bring that up another time as far as that goes. You know, I'll be honest with you guys. You know, I've been reading the Bible for like 19 years. I've been following the Lord, me and my husband. And I never knew what like a Zionist was. You know, like you guys have heard that term. That's the other thing that's been bothering me, is as soon as, you know, like Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, and then I was seeing different videos where people were bringing up the fact that, you know, Charlie Kirk was asking questions about Mossad being tied to Epstein and the pedophile stuff. And I thought, you know what, that's a really great question, because, you know, I remember Trump telling everybody that, oh, that's just a hoax or this or that. And, you know, I've said this before. He might have said that because, you know, he might not be involved directly, but it's not about, who cares? I don't want pedophiles running my country, and they shouldn't be running the world, because you guys understand that we've got bases all over the United States, right? The United States is posted up all over the world. Do we have people that are a part of our government in other countries involved in this? Like, we need to know why, you know, and you just got to wonder if that's why I said they're just constantly pushing transgender and all the LGBT stuff and all of that. Is it that because that's the lifestyle that they live? Right. And they're trying to get us to jump on board with that and this sick stuff that they're involved in. But, you know, I don't want an organization, if it is crooked, you don't want it to continue. I think it should be, these things should be aired out for the sake of it continuing in truth. Right. And so anyway, let me see if there's anybody on here. Megan was on here. Nigel. Hey, Nigel, how's it going, man? I hope you're doing okay. Yeah, 2030 agenda is real. I know that, people over there, you know, in like the UK and stuff, they've all been infiltrated by, you know, Muslims, and like all these people taking over their country. And I heard that's because they all left Syria and they went up there, you know. And that's the other thing. I remember, do you guys remember we were told that the leader in Syria was gassing out his own people? Do you guys remember hearing about that? Somebody brought that up the other day, and I was like, I forgot about that, but interesting. And then you heard it wasn't true, this or that. So it's just like, you got to wonder who is making up all of these stories that's getting all of us American citizens sort of like, I don't know, how can you say it? it's like there's all this stuff that's happening. Who is telling the stories, and what are they really trying to do? You know? And I really believe that there's some sick people out there who are really doing their job to try to bring our country down, to bring the United States down. This is like the last stronghold for them. And, I'm grateful that after, it's absolutely disgusting that Charlie Kirk got assassinated. And I think we do need answers to that because, like I said, who else is next on their list? Seriously, don't tell me that that's not their goal. Right. And that's what people have to understand is nowhere in history has there ever been a time where government didn't turn on their people. Period. I don't believe it. I don't believe all the bullshit. You look back at past assassinations and, CIA knew different things and different governments knew things. And, and then all of a sudden you don't find out about it for like 30 or 40 years. Isn't that weird? And so, it's just interesting. And, Nigel, I'm with you. God is exposing everything that is done in the dark in his great light. Yeah, he is. We have to remember that. We have to continue to pray that God will do it because these guys aren't just going to go down, right? We have to pray and we have to continue to ask questions and put pressure on them. I think we need to put pressure on TPUSA to answer every single question that Candace Owens has regarding the planes that were following him. Why is there a hangar in Delaware? Why is our government all posted up in this place together? Why are all these other countries involved? This is not a fucking one world government. United States is not supposed to be a fucking globalist nation. Okay? That's my problem. We are, I thought, right? America first. But that's the other thing I was going to say is I started asking questions like, wait, does Israel have any ties to Epstein? And he's like a sick ass pedophile ring guy. And he had all these connections with all these people. And then all these people are in their own government. And all of a sudden you get labeled as a Jew hater. What? And then you've got all of a sudden, you guys notice all these accounts are coming out and, they're defending Israel. And I get it, right? Like, I've always believed that, God's people are the Jews and that God's going to save them. And of course, Jesus Christ came from that. That's not my problem. My problem is God has put me on this earth now. And I'm supposed to, where I'm at in the United States, he's given me the opportunity to participate in my government. And with that being said, that means I have to do my research and my homework and figure out who these people are that are making decisions on my behalf, because they're supposed to be doing shit because of what we want to do. But that shit fucking fell through a long time ago. They don't listen to us anymore. They say they do. They need us to get in office and then they listen to whoever's above them. Like, and it's evident. The fact that, that's the other thing too. So yeah, now you're a Jew hater if you question the government of Israel, which I think is complete bullshit. I've noticed all these accounts everywhere that are saying, I seen somebody the other day says God's a Zionist. I'm like, what the hell is a Zionist? Like, I've got some homework to do. I don't even know what a Zionist is. Like, what is these terms that they're just throwing out there and they're saying to people and people are like, yeah, getting on board with it. I'm like, do you even know what this means? And why are they pushing that so hard? Like, I'm really just asking that because that's kind of what propaganda is, right? And so it's like, yeah, like me and my husband were talking. Yeah, Israel should be its own nation. They should be able to stand on their own, period. Right? Like, why should we continually have to give them money all the time? Like foreign aid. If people want to go there and travel, if like that's how they make money, cool. Right? Like they pay tons of people to go over there. But why don't Americans just use their own money and go to Israel and go check it out? All I'm saying is, why do we have to? We don't even have money. And that's what people say all the time. Well, we have to because of what happened to them in the Holocaust and all this kind of stuff. It's like, I get it. That's terrible. Right? But are we going to start Holocausting Christians for asking questions now? Is it going to be like a new Holocaust now because we're sitting here saying, what the fuck is going on? Is people going to get Charlie Kirk like he did just because he was asking questions? That's my problem. All of a sudden, people who are asking questions are getting labeled as Jew haters or this or that or pieces of shit, according to Tim Pool. That's not right. Something's wrong with this picture. All of this stuff, all of a sudden, that just pops up and all the stuff that they're saying. It's like, you know what? I just want you guys to please, before you accept anything that they say, make sure you know what it is that they're saying. Like, do you know what that is? Do you know what that implies and entails? Right? Like, just ask some more questions. And if you don't know, just say you don't know. But don't be so quick to believe everything everybody's saying online. We don't even know these people, right? And the thing is if you have people who have, a big fat influence and they're attacking you for asking questions, that's a huge red flag to me. I don't like that. And that's the thing, like I said, I voted for Donald Trump, and the biggest problem I've had with him recently is him attacking other members of Congress because they're not doing what he wants. Remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene wasn't going to take her name off the list because she wanted the Epstein files to be released, and he's like sitting there destroying her, like saying all this crap about her. Like, what's up with that? I'm an American citizen. I want to see all this stuff with Epstein get dealt with. Remember they said they were going to release stuff, right? And then it's all going to get redacted. Now we're not going to hear anything about it now. We're not really hearing, now they're telling us that they found the J6 pipe bomber and now it's a different person. It's like, we're sick of this shit. Seriously. And that's what I think people are waking up to. We're tired of you, fucking with us and lying to us and manipulating us and telling us one thing and it's not, and demonizing us and all this shit. It's like, look, we put you in here to do the job of transparency and accountability, and that's what we want to fucking see. If there's people in government, like Trump was saying, that are committing sedition, well, don't you think that they should be arrested if that was the case? Why are people saying things if they don't have any evidence then? And that's what they keep saying about Candace and this or that. But it's like, you know what, you guys, we just have to start doing our own thing. And I wouldn't worry about an election. If this shit with Charlie Kirk doesn't get settled, who gives a shit about the election? All right. But you don't need any more crooked ass people in our government. We're already suffering as it is with the people who have been in office for God knows how long. Right. And so, and that's the thing. Charlie Kirk was trying to mobilize the younger people to get involved. And I want them to get involved. I just don't want them to become a pawn of the devil. I don't want them to become a pawn of the people who have already destroying not only the United States, but every other nation around the world, to where now they're going to utilize and manipulate Turning Point's organization to create more fucking people like them. Okay? If we have corrupt people in our government or in any organization, all of them need to get exposed for the sake of the corruption ending, not to utilize this institution to create more of what we're actually trying to get rid of. Right? And then you've got these pastors talking to these kids, telling them these things. And then then they listen to people on there saying that, oh, if they say this, they're a piece of shit. You are not teaching a person how to think for themselves in that regard anymore. And so I don't want Turning Point to have influence if they're just going to create the very thing that Charlie was exposing and wanting to get rid of. Okay? So that's my problem. They're a great organization. Charlie Kirk had a great mission for it. But if they're going to turn it into a piece of shit and the very thing that we're sick of, I hope it falls to the ground for the sake of this country. Because we don't need any more deep state little, what do they call them? Interns, per se. Think about all these young 20-year-olds they could utilize. Because the truth is, they don't really have anybody in the Gen Z community yet involved in government. They're all, boomers, 50, 60, 70 years old. They don't have any younger people. So now it's like, I see it that they want to try to use Turning Point to just get people in there that will continually just do what they're told. Charlie Kirk was like, I'm not doing what I'm told. What's going on here? They don't want people like that in office. They want people in there who are going to just, okay, you said it. I trust you, whatever, not question anything. And that's what bothers me. I can only hope and pray to God that this generation will not be manipulated by these people in power, right? By these people who are, bringing them to DC. And now all of a sudden the Department of War, the Department of Defense has actual journalists in there. That'll be interesting to see who's actually going to ask really tough questions. Yeah, Nigel, why do you think they're all trying to give us ID cards so we have no freedom at all? I don't know, Nigel. Everybody in the United States has one. You can't do anything without an ID card these days. But I get it. Of course they want to continually control, but now they really, this is the last thing I think that they're trying to do is utilize this whole thing with Charlie Kirk, because it was such a big movement. And I think the devil is trying to obviously use this movement for his own good. And the only reason I know the enemy is in it is because Turning Point has not been open and transparent in addressing the concerns that Candace Owens has had. I think if you're telling the truth, then you should have nothing to be afraid of and you should lay everything out on the table. I, as an American citizen, want answers to these planes. Why are we renting hangars to the French? What are they involved in? As I said, Candace Owens has already talked about the French and then the pedophilia stuff. Are they influencing us in any kind of way? I heard that around, and this, people, if you live in Delaware, you should look this up. Candace Owens talked about this, but around Delaware, where their little places, the address, King Street, somewhere over there, there's like a bunch of transgender hospitals and churches and all this kind of stuff. So you're just like, is really this movement of the government to push LGBT, all of this pedophile stuff, really just the sick shit that happens in the government, and they're trying to push it on the citizens so we accept their sick ass lifestyles? That's all I want to know. So anyway, you guys, I just wanted to address all that with you. I'm not just going to, it's going to take a lot of courage these days for you to just be upfront about what you think and believe. And I'm just walking you guys through kind of where my thought process is, with everything. And I really want to know what happened. And if the government is hiding anything from us, they need to be exposed. And I hope they get removed from their positions. We know that there's been tons of whistleblowers. Nothing ever happens. People blow the whistle on corrupt people all the time, but these corrupt people are still there. That's the other thing that's really frustrating, is they say things, but nothing's been done. Right? Like, have these all of these, what would you say it? The ones who were giving out the money to the foreign nations, right? Did they actually get rid of all of those NGOs? Right? Why are we allowing people in government and even in the states, like the ones who committed all the fraud, like, oh, we got to give them 6 months? The fuck we do. You can just get your ass in there and you're getting them the fuck out of here, straight up. If you've got people from another country that have come here and have exploited the American people and have lied and manipulated, you fucking don't belong here. You don't need 6 months. Cuff their ass. They can spend 6 months in jail then, figuring their shit out. They have no business trying to figure out another plan and scam to rip us off again. Get them out of here. We are tired of being taken advantage by other countries and our own fucking government who's using people from other countries to do their evil ass shit. And that's how I see it. That's why the Democrats wanted the border open. And not even just the Democrats, people who had control of the border, and even people in this state. Because let me tell you, as soon as that border is open, they all go into the states. The United States is not just one fucking federal place. Every individual state make up the United States. And so as soon as they cross over, they're going to be in Texas. They can go to Arizona. They go to Tennessee. They can go wherever the fuck the government will let them go. State governments. Don't tell me the state governments did not know that there was all these illegal aliens pouring into this country and they just let them come on in. They're all over in Nashville. When my husband was working up there, apartment complexes full of people. They're all from, all these other nations, and they don't speak English. And you're just like, okay, what are you over here for? And so anyway, so Nigel says, put your faith in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. And, that's why I'm telling you guys, you have to get rooted that God is with you and that his kingdom is with you, and he will supply all your needs, or else you are going to allow all of this stuff going on, keep you in fear, and you won't speak up, and you're going to worry about your livelihood. You'll worry about what you'll eat, what you'll drink, what you'll wear. You won't seek the kingdom first, because if you don't see the kingdom in your life now, you're going to think that you have to rely on someone else to survive, and God will help us. And that's what we have to remember, is regardless of what's going on with these people, don't let them put fear into you to where you stop doing what God created you to do. God never told Adam to stop ruling and subduing. He never took the job away. Rule and subdue has always been our job as God's creation, human beings. Now we just have to decide who is going to rule and subdue, who's going to influence this world. Are we going to continue to allow Satan to do it, or are we as God's children going to do it ourselves? And that's what we got to do. So anyway, you guys, I'm going to get off here. That's my thoughts for the day. You guys let me know what you guys are thinking. I'm praying for all you guys, and I'm praying for our country, and I'm really praying for not just our country, but other people in other countries who are also seeing the corruptness of their government and what's going on. So really, we need to ask God to help pinpoint those people, not just in the United States, but really all over the world, who have orchestrated all of this chaos that we're in. And we know it's Satan, right? But Satan uses people, and people, the devil comes as an angel of light, right? And so we have to be able to discern these people who are coming as angels of light. Okay, that's the other thing I'll say. Pay attention to the people who are getting very aggressive and defensive when you ask them questions. All right. That's what we're supposed to do. And we got to find the truth. Jesus is the truth. God will lead us in the truth. And we just have to trust him. And the only way you're going to be able to trust him, though, is if you start in your real life, things that are going on in your own personal life, get rooted in him first, or else you're going to let all of this destroy you. And we can't. You know, he put us all here for a time. You know, we're all here for a reason. So we got to know that, and we got to be confident that God is going to help us. So anyway, you guys have a great rest of the day. Nigel, God bless you, man. I hope you're doing well. I'll continue to pray for you. Everybody else have an awesome rest of the day, and I'll talk to you guys.